Live from the Stone Academy Medical Assisting Studio. WZMX FM and WZMX HD1 Hartford. Always on radio.com. Radio.com. Hot 93.7. It's time to stop the music and let the voices be heard. Call 860-674-9307 and let's talk.
Hello?
It's time for Voices with your host, DJ Biggmann on Hot 93.7.
All right. The time has come. Voices is here. Let me just do a quick phone check. Can you hear me, brother?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, we have a very special guest on the line, and we're going to jump right into a lot of the stuff here. Voices is our new show that we're going to be premiering every single Sunday around this time. And, you know, I wasn't going to do this show unless I could kick it off the right way and have a guest on the line. This brother is, you know, someone who I consider a friend, someone who, you know, when I place the call, he's right there. Now, he's invited me to a couple of his cookouts, and I've been busy working, and I couldn't make it. But you invite me this year, I'm there. Well, of course, we got a social distance.
Yes, right.
All right, so right now, it's my honor. It's my honor, and he's running for office again. And this will be how many times?
Too many times.
Too many times? Listen, this is State Senator Doug McCrory. Listen, first and foremost, thank you for answering the call, brother.
Anytime. But I mean, you guys are a community station. You guys do these great things for the community, and I'm glad you're bringing back this concept of having voices from the community part of your program, because everyone listens to the radio station. But you know, sometimes we gotta do more than entertain. We gotta educate, and you know, KRF1 had that term, edutainment. This is what this is. So I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come on and talk and just chop it up with you and let you know what's going on from my perspective, so our communication and our community can be informed.
And I think that's the very important part, because sometimes people will think because maybe they're not so much informed about it, and sometimes these meetings go on behind closed doors, and you can only reach so many people, and sometimes it depends on what the cameras pick up.
Right.
So, I mean, we've dealt with each other on a number of platforms in recent weeks. Most recently with the Brothers with Voices, and we did a Zoom thing that was broadcast on Facebook, a town hall meeting, and you had some powerful things to say there, and that's why I felt it was important to have you on to talk about this. And what we first want to address is the current climate in our community, and just across the country.
Yeah.
And how we're viewed, because there's so much racial tension that's happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so unfortunate, because you would think, you know, as I said when we were on the panel, as I said, you know, I'm having discussions with my children that my parents didn't really want to have with me coming up.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
So now we're in a place where I'm having those discussions with my children, and I think it's really unfortunate. And at some point, we have to try to find a way to get past that, so that we're not repeating the same cycle over and over and over again. And how do you feel about the current climate, especially you being in a government office, holding a government office, and so many people are, you know, they're saying politicians this, politicians that. What kind of voice, so that people can understand, what kind of voice are you giving for the people? Because I think sometimes people just think, oh, he's another politician.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the battle like for you on the front line?
Well, that's a great introduction, great question. How I feel about what's going on. Unfortunately, I feel like most parents, most men, most black men, that, you know, we've been dealing with this situation for generation to generation. You're right. You know, our parents tried to shield us from it. They did the best they could, but the reality is that we have that pandemic, not the COVID one, but the racial one, that's been with us since this country has started. And one thing I'll say right now is that I am so proud. I am so proud of the young people who have come out and demonstrated and giving their voice to what's going on. They want to see change. They want to see things different in their community, and they're tired of it. And as a politician, elected official, I'll say first, I don't consider myself a politician. I'm just a person just from this community, just like anyone else, who decided to take a stab at getting office because I wanted to see change. And from my perspective, I think I bring the voice of my community. I'm a person who lives, born and raised in North and Hartford, went to school in North Hartford, then eventually transitioned over. So I bring the voice of the community. And one thing you could say about me is I'm always in this community. I haven't left it. My mentality hasn't changed. And I have to bring their voices to the state capitol so people understand where we stand on these issues of racism, economic disparity, health disparity. I have to be that voice for the community, and that's one of the things I do. And I try to do it not just for North Hartford, Bloomfield, and Windsor that I represent, for the entire state of Connecticut, because the issues are the same no matter where you live, no matter how much money you make. Those issues facing our community they transform every barrier there is. So I like to be that voice. I don't mind being that voice, and I also like to bring on other people and teach people how to get these things done. So that's what we have to do.
Wow. If you're joining us, if you're just joining us, this is Voices. This is the debut of Voices right here on Hot 93.7, hot937.com. Biggmann here, and I have Senator Doug McCrory, man. And the reason why, because some people might say, well, why him? The reason why is because, one, this brother not only talks the talk, not only walks the walk, he talks the talk and all of the above, and he gets out there. He's on the front line. Whenever I'm out and about and I'm, thinking about doing something, or I'm going to an event and it's something community-based, you best believe I'm going to see this brother there. All right, so I felt it was important to have someone on the line who's genuinely out there. He genuinely cares about the community, and he genuinely wants to see the community involved. Now, with that being said, what is the biggest, I want to say disappointment, but sometimes, because I know that even though you're out here in the community and you're doing what you can, you're just one voice.
Right.
All right. So what's disheartening about this? Because I'm sure that some people, they're coming to you and they're feeling like you're not saying this, that, and other. You may have fingers pointed at you about things. What's been the most disappointing part of that?
Well, that's a good question. As far as most disappointing, I'm gonna think it's politically. First, the most disappointing thing is the reality is Connecticut is built on 169 towns and communities throughout, and the reality is the legislature is pretty much controlled by suburban legislators, right? They have more. There's more members of them, and it's not as many of people who live the lifestyle that I live, who represent urban communities. So my biggest frustration is trying to convince or get people to understand and see a different side of an issue that may be germane to them, but very important for me. I'll give you one, for example. The fact that in North Hartford, there's no grocery store. Now think about that for a second. There isn't a grocery store where you can take a bus to or drive to. I'm talking about full-service grocery store in this community. You go right next door in West Hartford, there's 6 of them, full-service grocery stores. And there's more people in North Hartford. I'll give you a last example. We talk about urgent care centers. If you ever drive around the state of Connecticut, you see a lot of these little small they call them urgent care centers, where people can go to at any, most of the time it's safe at 8 or 9 o'clock. If you got some ailment or something, you can just roll up in there. You don't need an appointment. You don't need a doctor. But guess what? We don't have one of them in Hartford. Well, I'll take it back. We just opened one. The one was just opened about a month ago. Our urgent care center, where you can get health care anytime you want. We don't have that. We have 2 hospitals, but you know what happens when you go to the hospital. You got to sit there all night long, and it could be something minor that could have been taken care of if you could drop it to an urgent care center. Right. People take for granted so many things that other communities have that we just don't have in our community. It's fights like that I have to get people from outside our community to understand those basic needs are needed in communities like the one I represent. And that's not my fight, to get people to understand that. So I would say that was my biggest frustration.
Wow. And, I wholeheartedly believe it, because the key thing that you said is, most of it is governed by suburban people. So they don't even understand or see that plight, because to them it's the norm. It's the norm to have that much access, that much accessibility to these things. And for us, it's the norm to go outside of our community. So, and that feeds into the narrative that the dollar in the urban community, it barely circulates one time. But
exactly.
there isn't anything there for it to circulate to. I mean, outside of, you have your mom and pops and this, that, and the other. But what happens, like you said, with urgent care?
Yeah, yeah,
There's nothing there. And
exactly.
here's something that I talk about a lot in barbershops and in different places. There's, to me, at least what I see in my end of Hartford, which is the north end, just like you, we've been shortchanged on community centers, and I see a lot more substations, police substations, and
Yeah,
I, it's disappointing, it's disheartening to me, because, for instance, I had to do something in Wallingford earlier, and I really took the back roads, and I wanted to go through some of the cities, and I'm like, wow, I don't see the abundance of police substations.
right.
You know what I mean? Where
Right,
there
yeah,
used to be
exactly.
youth centers in our
Yeah,
communities, there's police substations, and I want to understand the concept behind that because, you know, just putting these substations there and eliminating the community centers, there's nothing for anyone to do.
right.
There's
So
nothing for anyone to do.
I'll tap that real quickly because, as you know, I grew up in North Hartford. We always had the rec.
Right.
After school, you went to the rec. The rec was in the same school where you went to school to, right? You had access to boys and girls clubs. Those things have been removed, and what you see is a bunch of substations. And people talk about this concept of, well, they might be needed because you want community policing. No, sometimes we're over-policed and under-resourced. I would rather for us, or people in our community, why we can't have a ballerina where our little girls can go learn how to do ballet? Why we can't have a facility where our kids go learn how to do computer technology after school? Those are the things, the options, the opportunities that our communities don't have, the opportunities, the resources that a number of communities do have. You drive through other communities, you see all kinds of things available for them. There's bowling alleys. There's skating rings. There's so many other alternatives that children have for them in other communities, and we don't. We're in a low-resource community, and the responsibility, in my opinion, is government. Government, you have to put programs in place so people have alternatives. You see all this violence? No one's going to be violent if they're coming from a job at night, right? The likelihood of someone committing a crime is very low when you're employed, right? When you have opportunity, when you have hope. We don't have those things in our community. It's my responsibility to fight for those things so we can at least balance the playing field. I can't take a brother off the block if I can't give them an opportunity to grind the right way, right? People just feel as though people want to do these things because that's available to them. No, people don't do those things because they're survival techniques. And I don't want to survive anymore. I want the community to live. I want us to prosper. And we have to change some of the policies we have in our state to make sure that happens. And one of the things that really important, that you know as well as I know, that we got a very important vote coming up Tuesday. And that vote is about reforming the way policing is being done in this state. And I am so excited that Tuesday, it might be so historic that we're going to change the course of what we're doing in this state and make it more plentiful for others.
Wow. Once again, if you're joining us, this is Voices on Hot 93.7. Biggmann here, and I have Senator Doug McCrory on the line. And here's something. Also, I have a number of bullet points here that I want to talk about. Financial literacy in the inner city community. And I remember having this discussion with my mother. And I said, you know what? All the years of high school, all the years of college, and everything else, the one thing that was not taught was financial literacy. And I feel like, what we need to start doing and get better at is information sharing, because there's some brothers and sisters who have this knowledge and they've learned some things along the way. And this is where I think, if we're going to ask for these rec centers and stuff like that to be open, then we need to also put a responsibility on those brothers and sisters to have these types of workshops for the youth who are coming up. If they're going to be in these, let's make it something more than just playing basketball, shooting pool, doing this, that, and the other. Let's teach them some real life skills. Let's teach them how to be entrepreneurs. I just spoke at a young entrepreneur program that Anthony Griffin is running. I spoke at this thing on Monday, and he's teaching teens between the ages of, I believe it's 13 and 17, 18, to become entrepreneurs. When they're finished with the program, they have their own LLC already developed. This is something that needs to happen more often, because we talk about, of course, we're not, we start behind the ball, because we don't have any wealth, for the most part, we don't have any wealth trails that are passed down to us.
Right.
So we're behind the ball on that. But we have to take it upon ourselves, and we need to put that expectation on ourselves as well as those who know in the community to teach each other. All right? We need to sit down and have that real conversation. Look, brother, you know this, that, and the other, man. We have this program over here. Can you give them an hour or two a week? I understand that you're busy, but instead of complaining about the cycle that's going on and on and on, you could be a part of, the change that we can start right now.
Yeah.
We can start this change right now. This is the plan that we have in place. But don't turn your nose up at people because you might know it, they don't know it, and you're looking at it based on what you know.
You think that's a very good point. And I'm glad you brought up financial literacy, because one of the bills I was proposing this legislative session is have financial literacy taught in our classrooms, right? The reality is, in high resource communities, where you have the ability to offer a course like financial literacy, in low resource communities like the ones I represent, the children don't have that opportunity to learn financial literacy. And like you said, our parents never set us down and talked to us about why you have life insurance. No one talked to us about having a good credit score. No one told us the responsibility you should have when you get that first credit card, especially when you're in college. They throw it in your hand.
Oh, man.
No, that's not taught. That's not a part of our culture. We wasn't brought up that way because we normally was not brought up around money, right? Our parents worked and saved, and if they bought something, they bought it with the money they saved. But everyone knows that. The person who teaches and learns about financial literacy at an early age, they have higher credit scores. They have responsibilities. They don't have to do a GoFundMe page when something bad comes in life. They understand the idea of insurance. They understand about generational wealth, how it's important to buy a home and keep it in your name and pass that on. That's why other people are so far ahead of us, because they've been teaching their children this for 300 years. They master the stock market. But the good thing about that, Biggmann, is we have people in our community that has written books, and they wrote it on a level that you and I can understand, and our 16 and 15-year-olds understand, and they teaching us about financial literacy. So we can do this. Again, only thing we need is the opportunity. Only thing we need is a building that's open, that's not just playing basketball, like you said, but also learning about financial literacy and learning about the computer, because that's the way of the future. So it's again, we have the people to do it. We just need the opportunity. It's my responsibility to find the resources so that we can teach our children and our adults about financial literacy. And that's going to get done. Trust me. That's high on my priority list.
Oh, man. We're talking about it. Man. Voices is on your airwaves. Hot 937, hot937.com. Biggmann here. Senator Doug McCrory on the line. And okay, I had a funny conversation with my daughters recently. My mother still has at her house the Encyclopedia Britannicas, the old Encyclopedia Britannicas. All right, hers, she has the blue edition, the light blue edition, and they were looking in their phones, and I pointed to them. I said, "Do you know what those books are?" And he said, "What?" I said, "That was Google when I was in school. That was Google when I was in school.
I have the brown edition."
All right. Now, they looked at me like, "What?" That was Google.
Yep.
If I wanted to know about finances, I had to get the book that was F2, whatever, and I had to go in there and look at and read it. That's how we found our information. Yep. Now this is the information age. So, I'm not saying don't enjoy your devices. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying don't, play the games and do the memes and all this other stuff. I'm not saying that. But take an allotted amount of time out to do some research. And here's the thing, because I feel like every day is a learning experience. Every day is a chance to learn something new. So I'm learning a lot of times as I'm going. I'm learning from my kids sometimes. And so my thing is, I'm not going to tell them, hey, you need to read, you need to learn this, you need to learn that, and then I'm not doing the same thing.
Same thing, right?
So,
right.
and I'm not saying lead from the front. We can lead from the middle. We can all lock arms together because
Right.
there's some things that I may not know and that I've learned along the way. Here I am, I have 3 children. My son has his master's degree. All right. My daughter is a sophomore at UConn, and my youngest child is going into her junior year at the Academy of Arts. My thing is, we have to, I talk to them about entrepreneurship all the time. I talk to them about it all the time because, especially during this pandemic and the things that have happened, and they're seeing this stuff, and they're like, it's so sad that, they know friends whose parents have lost their jobs and things like that.
Right.
And I'm like, that's, this is an eye-opener for you. Let's talk about multiple streams of income.
Right.
Let's talk about having that plan B and already having it in place so that if plan A falls, then now you can start working on plan C because plan B has become plan A again.
Right.
So
exactly.
let's keep it going so that we have multiple streams of income. And let's talk about these serious conversations. And let's not talk about being the flyest kid in the room. Let's talk about being the smartest and brightest one, the one with the biggest plan in the room. So these are certain conversations that I like to have, but we all have to take that responsibility and have that.
I'd say, especially in regards to financial literacy, I'll just hit this last one, the financial literacy question. So my son was able to take a course with a young man who wrote a book, just like young man grew up from Albany Avenue, wrote a book about financial literacy, so young people, and they were mesmerized. When I say engage, when you start talking to kids about money and how you can make money and how you can make money for you, my son came home and asked me, did I plan for a certain thing that I wanted to buy? And I was like, I laughed first, right? But then at the end of the day, I was like, yeah, that's what I want you to think about, planning, how to utilize your money, how you take this income and make multiple streams of income. And now he's thinking about it. He's getting ready to go to college. I said, listen, I don't care what you major in, but you got to take some courses about finances. We got to start learning the stock market and start being the players in the game. The data shows that only 3 to 4% of people of color are actually on the stock market. And if you want to make real money, you got to be in the game. It's important to get them skill sets at an early age. Again, we have to provide an opportunity for them to learn it. We can do that. We have the people ready to go.
We absolutely do, and it's all about using our resources here. Wow. Voices, man. We talking about it, man. We are getting deep into this, and it's almost similar to having a barbershop conversation, and that's what the conversations have changed to in the barbershop. Now, when I'm in a barbershop, I'm talking about about financial things affecting the world right now. Now, a question that's like a burning topic right now, especially with parents, and it's opening the schools.
Yeah.
I've heard arguments on both sides of the coin. Some people feel like, the education was compromised because the students weren't there, so they felt like they weren't learning the same things that they would learn in the classroom. And from what I had seen with everything with my youngest daughter, she, they seemed to have everything in place. She was busy during the day. She was busy doing that work during the day. But I wonder, and I don't know if this is a question that you have all the answers to yet either, but a lot of parents are concerned, like, how effective are these measures to make sure that the classrooms and the schools are safe places to go to right now? Because the reality of it is, we see it every single day where there are grown people who are defiant about social distancing and wearing masks. And these grown folks are parents of some of these children who will be going back to school. So if they don't want to do it, what makes you think that they would make their children want to do it? And then that puts our children in harm's way. And so how often is this talked about on the floor? Is it like a mixed reaction?
No. We've had many conversations about that. First and foremost, the most important thing is the safety of our children and the people who teach them, right? So that has to be at the forefront before we start talking about anything about coming back to school. So what in Connecticut, what the Commissioner of Education has proposed for every school district to have three methods in place, three methods already planned for if something happens. So we have the traditional method where everyone comes back to school. Of course, they're going to have to social distance and wear masks. We have the second route was a hybrid route. Like you can have some people come to school on some days and others come on a different day. So school districts have to be prepared that way. And finally, we have to have a plan in place for distance learning where no one's coming back into school and sort of how we finish this year. It's unfortunate, well as you know and I know, that we lost a lot this year. Our children lost a whole lot of opportunities for education. And not only that, the summer fall off, which traditionally happens, that has compounded the situation. But I will say this finally on around the school thing is one of the things I'm proposing this particular year is for our educators to focus on two things, right? Teachers every year have to go through a whole lot of professional development and in-service workshops, or a whole litany of things that are associated with education. This year I'm proposing that our teachers just focus on two things, and those two things are social emotional learning, and the other one is implicit bias and equity. And the reason why I want our teachers just to focus on those two things is because, like, the kid that's coming back to you in September is a totally different kid that you've never seen before in your life. This kid has been traumatized. They have seen their children. They have seen their family members lose their life. They've seen their parents lose their job. They have seen what we all knew for the last 300, 400 years, racism right in their face. And those kids are going to have some questions for our educators. They're going to ask different questions now. And I want our educators to be prepared to have those conversations with them because, again, it's a different child that's coming to you, and you have to be prepared. This child has been isolated from their friends for so long. It's a different kid, and you have to be prepared for that kid when the school opens in September. So I want to focus on this, not just for a month, but for the whole entire year, because things have changed in this country, and we can't go back to normal. Has to be a new normal in this country, whether it's in education, whether it's in healthcare, whether it's in economics or the criminal justice system. We cannot go back to what it used to be. It has to be a new conversation as we move forward. So, again, I want to make sure our kids are safe when they come into those buildings, but also be prepared to have a conversation with you that you probably had never thought about as an education, to talk to our children about their safety, their wellness, and racism in this country.
Voices right here on Hot 93.7, hot937.com. Biggmann here, State Senator Doug McCrory on the line. Now, and I know the hot topic right now is race. And, you know, you being a black man, a state senator here in Connecticut, you know, we've already asked the question about what you face in terms of, you know, just being in the community and people coming to you. What, especially in this, and I mean, you may not even be able to address it, but in the times that we have right now, how difficult is it when these discussions come up in the meetings that you guys have, in the sessions that you have? How difficult is it to, because sometimes people are so oblivious to this, and sometimes people don't even understand that certain statements can be insensitive. How difficult is it on a daily basis to almost have to educate grown people, some who may be older than you, on the insensitivity of certain decisions, certain statements, certain actions? How difficult is that on a daily basis walking in as a black man?
Well, you know, prior to this, the last 2 months, to the George Floyd situation, it was very difficult to explain to people how we live, how we view things, how society views us, how we operate in the spaces and that our bodies come in. Our bodies come in black and brown. And we always been trying to explain to people it's different. We see policing different from you. Things happen to us in a different manner than have to. And everybody's like, well, what's going on? When the scab was pulled off, and when that person, I don't even want to give his name, executed George Floyd for everyone to see, he sent a message to the entire country. And his message was, this is how we treat these people. And he was training other officers. He was teaching them how to treat us. So after that, I think people became more understanding, and it was put right in their face. And now you can't hide from the fact. And now people are a little more willing to listen to the other voice, right? For so long, it's only been one voice. It's only been one narrative out there. Because of what happened, the COVID situation that unearthed how healthcare disparities exist in our country, in our state, that we've been knowing for years, and overt racism still exists in all these systems that I mentioned earlier, healthcare, educational, criminal justice, all these systems. It's a little easier to have a conversation. Now the concern is what you going to do about it. Because we can do so many symbolic things. I am not into symbolism. I mean, I'm not. I'm not going to stop away from it. I'm not going to say don't paint Black Lives Matter on the street, or don't put a flag up at the Capitol and say Juneteenth. I want the action. And one thing we don't do the action piece. We get caught up in symbolic symbols and apologies, but not changing policy and doing active things to change your life. And what we want to do in this state, and my colleagues want to do, is change policies and start investing in these communities that have not been invested in over the last 50 years. And until we invest in those communities, and then those communities invest in the people that live there, we won't see change. We have to start changing the narrative and giving opportunities for those that don't have it. How many state buildings you see in your neighborhood? When you see millions of dollars are reported in the urban communities, they're pretty much to build apartment buildings for people that you and I ain't never going to live into. And they say we spent money in Hartford. None of those things change the conditions of the people who live outside of the downtown area, whether it be in Hartford, whether it be in New Haven and New Harville, whether it be in Bridgeport, whether it be in Waterbury. The resources don't go to the people who need them the most, and the decisions don't come from the people who need them the most. This, what I'm working on, this is called the Connecticut Renaissance Project, will change that narrative and have our state invest in the communities that they have not invested, and have the ideas from the people in the community come to fruition. So that's one of the biggest pieces that we're working on. It won't happen Tuesday, but we're having it coming back again in September, and God off going to make sure that happens. We need to start investing and create economic ecosystems. Remember that term, an economic ecosystem in our communities that would make our communities healthier financially, educationally, and opportunity-wise.
And let me add to this. You can't say that it's difficult to figure out how to do it when you're doing it in other places, except for the inner-city communities. Just follow that blueprint. The blueprint is there.
It's already there.
That's why when that excuse comes in, I mean, you could take it back to any type of talk. When it's reparations talk, when it's anything else, it's going to be a complex situation. It wasn't so complex to do the bailout of these corporations.
Right.
So if it wasn't complex then, why is it complex now?
Well,
use that same formula.
Listen, it's called excuses. And that's, at the end of the day, it's called an excuse. I'll give you another example. 20 years ago, UConn didn't look like the UConn it looks like now. UConn was the old farm school up there in Stores, Connecticut. Well, the state of Connecticut invested billions of dollars into UConn, right? And now became one of the best public universities in the state of Connecticut. Why? Because they saw a need to invest in that university. We have one of the greatest basketball teams as far as women, one of the greatest programs for men. We invested in them, and it turned around and paid off for us. Now kids are dying to get in UConn. That same energy, financial resources, and enthusiasm we need to do invest in urban communities. We need to invest in those people, and we can turn these things around. We have antiquated laws in the state of Connecticut that don't allow communities that are wealthy to build affordable housing in them so that we can live out there. We know that. That's a fact.
Yep.
You know that no one's going to deny that. We know that. That's Connecticut. So my attitude is this. If you don't want me to move out there in your community because you don't want to change some of the racist, historic housing policy you have, then let invest in where I live. Let my community look like your community. It's just being and being an urban community. That's my attitude now, because everybody don't want to move out there. Everybody don't feel comfortable living with you. But I do want to live in a community where I have the same options and opportunities that you do. And that's my point. Let's be fair. You can't have everything. You got to open up and provide opportunities for others. And like I said, the same enthusiasm and investment that we made you kind of a flagship state, we can do that in urban communities across the state.
Voices. This is why I wanted to have him on first, man. Senator Doug McCrory is here. Biggmann is here. And this is our new show every single Sunday at 4 o'clock. All right. And see, I think it's more fear than anything else. Because then if the inner city starts to look like the cities on the outskirts, now there's no more thrill. There's no more I'm better than you.
Right.
Because it all looks the same.
Exactly.
So that's why the conversation becomes difficult, because it's more of a power thing.
Yes.
It's more of a financial and power thing. We want to keep the financial stronghold here.
Yes.
We
Right.
want to keep the power here. We don't want to give the power away. We want to hold on to it. We want to keep passing it on. And no, we don't want to share any of our secrets. The thing is, the secret's already out there. The
Right.
secret's out of the bag. The whole cat is out of the bag.
Right. Right.
Now, I feel, and I've had this discussion, and you know, it's a weird discussion to have sometimes, because when you talk about the responsibility of those people who are currently residing in the inner city, because we can't continue to point the finger outside. We also have to accept what responsibility is ours being in the inner city. Because if we want to see change, then we have to start becoming the change.
Right.
So that we can start seeing that change. We can't keep pointing at everybody else and saying, you change, but I'm not going to change.
Right.
Like, we have to collectively change. We have to change our mindset. We have to take more pride in everything. And I think we need to, we need to start fighting those demons within. So that when people try to, say, oh, well, we've already done that. Okay, we're ready. We at the table. We're ready. This is what we've done. What have you done? Now it's your turn. All right.
Yep.
See, we can come as a collective, as a stronghold, and then when we make those demands, then we don't have, because you have to understand, whenever we start to make these demands and start to request change on a big level, there's not gonna only be resistance from outside. There's gonna be resistance from within.
Exactly. You make a very good point about holding ourselves accountable and change. You're right. Some people don't want change. I know people from the outside that don't want change. They're comfortable with the conditions as they are, right? And there's people from the inside who live in these communities. They don't want change because they don't know what change looks like, right? So everyone's afraid of change, but we all know it has to happen, especially starting from within. When we start controlling the economics in our community, when we start controlling the politics in our community, that makes for a better community, right? We don't necessarily need people to come into our community to tell us what to do. What we need is the resources to do things for ourselves, right? And people don't want to give you an opportunity to do things for yourself. That's like when they taught slaves how to read, right? We know that reading helps everybody. It makes the whole country smarter, right? Right now, we are losing so much capital of our body, the human capital, because the kids are not getting a proper education, because our kids are not getting opportunities. We're wasting human capital, and we cannot continue as a state with 30 or 40% of people stuck in a condition of continuous poverty, generational poverty, right? And that's what you see happening when you see people come, when you have generational people going in and out of the correctional facilities, right? That causes compound poverty in one particular area of a country, of a state, of a community, and nothing good can come out of that. Nothing good. So opportunities is the key. You don't have to be the smartest person in the world. I know people that was not nowhere as smart as I am, or even much smarter, but they didn't get the opportunity. They didn't have somebody in their neighborhood say, hey, man, you need to do it this way, right? And that's what we can do from within. Whether you came through a system and was not successful and you figured it out and you made a life for yourself, or you figured out the system and became successful like your son, we need those people to come back into the community and rebuild those communities and be the voice of those people in the communities. Because, trust me, all our young people need is someone to show that they care about them. And once you develop that relationship with somebody besides your family member that show that you care, people change. I know people change. And we can make that change. We can be the change that we want to see.
Yes, absolutely. And people, there's nothing wrong with seeing the person next door to you across the street. There's nothing wrong with seeing them make it first.
Right.
We should applaud them.
Yeah.
Don't be mad because maybe they got there before you. Maybe it wasn't your time yet. Maybe you need to go through a little bit more. But we have to get into the habit of applauding, having what I call mutual celebratory relationships.
Yeah.
So you can be happy for them, not happy at the idea, but when it comes to fruition, still be happy. All right? Don't be mad because it wasn't you at that time. All right? It doesn't mean it's not going to happen for you. Your time is coming. You have to believe enough to know, and we have to continue to lock arms. So if that person makes it, now it's a responsibility on both ends. It's your responsibility to be happy for them, all right? Also be willing to take information from them because they have a responsibility now to disseminate that information back down and say, hey, let me pull you up. Let me help you get up. But when I help you get up, I want you to go and bless others too.
Exactly.
You know, we have to get into that habit of passing the blessing on and stop trying to hoard everything and just say, I'm the man. You know, a lot of us suffer from I'm the man syndrome because it's like, I made it. You know, you got to figure it out. I had to figure it out. There's nothing wrong with helping the next person make it because that's where other communities thrive because they help each other. They help each other. You know, we don't have to step on each other's necks.
Right.
You understand? If you know something, especially, I mean, sometimes people, they'll know things. Let's say this person over here is an auto mechanic. All right. He might know some connections for an electrician. His friend is an electrician. He's struggling to make it, and he might know someone who could help him out, get him on his feet, and he'll hold on to that information. He won't volunteer it because, well, he should have asked me.
Right.
What?
Right.
What's wrong with you volunteering the information? We got to get out of that.
Yeah. You got to be excited for the person next to you. You got to be excited for your neighbor. And it's funny because we do sometimes celebrate the person who makes it out together. Unfortunately, the person we make it out is always like a celebrity or a sports athlete. We celebrate that person. But how about celebrating the brother that just graduated from college?
Exactly.
How about celebrating the sister who just opened up her hair salon? You know, we need them small celebrations that just as important as those large celebrations when somebody make it out of the hood and go pro, right? We need to celebrate our small success. Celebrate with our families, I take it even further, step further, even your own family. Celebrate the success that your little man made it from 8th grade, now he's going to high school. Put that inspiration into a young person. It doesn't take a lot. They just want, young people just want to hear that, you're looking at them. Any older folks, celebrate the fact that, you went from being a renter to a homeowner, right? Those type of things.
Don't say to them, oh, it's about time. You should have had a house. Don't say that.
Don't
say that.
Yeah.
They may have just learned something that you knew that you could have told them a long time ago, but you held on to it.
Right. Exactly.
And now you want to rub it in their face. Oh, it's about time. I could have told you that. Why didn't you?
Right, exactly. And then when that person get a house now, whatever it took for you to get the house, not go tell somebody else.
Exactly.
Put somebody else on.
Walk them into that person's office. Listen, this is my boy. All right?
Yeah.
Our plan, my plan is going to become his plan because we're going to buy back the block. Right. And we're going to teach other people to do it. Yeah, I got started. Please help him out. What does he need? He needs somebody to help him fix his credit. Can you walk him through it? I mean, I know you walked me through it, but that's not my expertise, and I want to keep my situation going this way right here. But I want you to help him out so that, you know, if I miss a beat or something like that, he can't, so you tried to, no, I put you in front of the person who I stepped in front of.
Right.
I'm going to bring you to the source, and we're going to all learn how to win together. Because if I'm the only one winning, and I'm hanging around with all of y'all, and none of y'all winning, eventually, you know, if I'm the only one that's eating and everyone else is starving, then I start to look like food.
Yeah. Exactly.
I want the whole team to win. I want the whole team to win. And all of you out there, you are my team.
I hear that.
Oh, man. Listen, Doug, this won't be the last time that I have you on the show, man. And you know, I know it's Sunday afternoon, it's your day off, and I was like, oh, brother, I need you. But the crazy part was, I want you guys to understand. As busy as this man is, I sent him a message, and he was like, whatever you need me to do.
Right. Exactly.
He said, whatever you need, just send me the information. And I'm like, wow.
Listen,
You know.
well, that's what happens when, you know, listen, you're a good brother, man. I mess with a lot of people, but I don't mess with everybody. You know what I use other words.
I know it.
When I'm not on the radio talking like that. So I'm going to be good with everybody, but I don't mess with everybody.
Right.
But you're a good brother. I know you mean well, and I know you want our communities and communities across the state to prosper, to do well. So I thank you for giving me the opportunity to come and have this conversation to all the people in Connecticut. And last thing I will say, make sure you get out and vote. Elections have consequences. You can see that right now. Elections do have consequences. You have elections come up. Make sure you register to vote. Go out and be the change that you want to see. Uplift yourself, uplift your community, and let's do this, man. We can do this. It's not that hard. And if you need, and one thing I would say, big man, I know a little bit of everybody. So if there's a concern you might have, reach out to me because listen, I got a man. That's my favorite
Exactly.
line. I got a man that do this. I got a man that do that.
Right.
You know. So, hey, let me be a resource for you all out there who's listening on this program. And again, thanks for giving me the opportunity to come on and chop it up with you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, State Senator Doug McCrory. He's having another successful run. I'm speaking it into existence.
Yeah.
Right? And he's going to continue to do good because he's already been doing that. So I know if he's been doing it this long, he's going to continue to do it. And once again, brother, I thank you so much, not only for being a guest on the first episode of Voices, but for everything that you're doing in the community. And you know, we're going to bump into each other anyway.
Exactly. So, listen, I can't have the cookout this year. I know
you can't have it this year, but next year I'm there.
We're going to come back strong.
Next year I'm there, man. I might have to get on the grill for a little while, too.
All right. All right, man. Thank you.
Hey, listen, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. As Voices is Hot 93.7. Thank you.
Connecticut. It's time we talked about a few things. Sundays at 4 p.m., Hot 93.7 presents to you Voices. The music stops, and we let your voices be heard. The voices of the youth. The voices of the elderly. The voices of our community leaders. The voices of the people. Together. Join DJ Biggmann every Sunday for Voices. Only on Hot 93.7.
The great thing about facts, they're proven. Like the fact that crude oil